Welcome to Psych Up, where we discuss all things psychology. This week, we're asking the question you ask yourself every morning: why does my job suck? Let's get into it. Do you love your job? It's no secret that the labor market is getting more and more difficult to break into these days. Jobs seem to be getting harder and harder to come by. With this in mind, shouldn't you be like, heck yeah, I love my job. I love the thing that pays my bills. Well, if you just answered yes, then congratulations! You're one of the lucky 15% of people that actually enjoy their jobs. Yep, that's right. If you and your 5 friends got together, chances are that only one of you actually enjoys doing your job. Now, if you're one of the 85% of people who aren't ecstatic about their jobs on the other hand, ask yourself, why? One answer might go along the lines of this. Yeah, I don't really like my job, but if I were paid more, then I definitely would. I mean, it kinda makes sense. You'd likely prefer a higher paying job than a low paying job. I mean, you'd be able to buy yourself more stuff, worry less about paying bills, and even rent a bigger place, therefore making you happier, right? But what if I told you that making more money at your job wouldn't necessarily bring you more happiness? In fact, some statisticians actually found that after you started earning over $70,000 a year, making more money doesn't really make you more happy. That means that if your friend Bob made $70,000 a year and you made $150,000 a year, you both would be theoretically at the same level of happiness. Weird, isn't it? You would think that with a higher salary you would feel more valued and more well compensated for your time, not to mention all the extra things you could do with the money. How can that boost to your self-esteem and bankroll not add to your happiness? Thankfully, psychology has an answer, and it's cognitive dissonance. A simple definition of cognitive dissonance is being in the state of having inconsistent thoughts, beliefs, or attitudes. Well, what does this mean? Well, for example, you or a friend or a family member might smoke. You know that smoking is bad for you, but you do it anyway. This leads to cognitive dissonance because your belief that smoking is bad for you and that you should quit contradicts your behavior of continuing to smoke. So now you're left in the state of cognitive dissonance. Your behaviors and beliefs are inconsistent. As humans, we don't really like that. So it's theorized that while cognitively dissonant, we experience subconscious mental discomfort about our inconsistencies, which lead us to change either our behavior, attitudes, and/or beliefs to reduce the discomfort and restore consistency in ourselves. For example, a smoker might reject or avoid any information that tells them smoking is harmful to their health. This lets the smoker escape dissonance by aligning their behaviors and beliefs by altering their beliefs to match their behavior. Okay, now what? How does this relate to why you hate your job? Well, the theory goes, at your job you're basically doing, well, work. And you get compensated for that with cold hard cash. Now, when this happens, your brain tries to rationalize this by asking itself subconsciously, hey, why am I getting paid to do this? And most times the answer it comes up with is something like, oh, it must be because it's not fun or interesting. So much so that they have to offer me an incentive to do it. If your initial beliefs were that doing your job was fun, then the interesting or fun job would be rewarding in itself. Why would they have to pay you to have fun? People do that all the time for free. Therefore, when you do get paid, your brain rationalizes that the job must be lame because they have to pay you to do it, implying that there's no reward in doing the job in itself. Think it's a stretch? Well, let's take a look at one of the defining experiments on the topic. In 1957, Leon Festinger and James Carlsmith recruited 71 participants to do a series of dull tasks, such as turning pegs in a pegboard for an hour. After a participant had endured a horrendously boring hour, he was quote-unquote bribed by the experimenter to tell the next person in line that the super boring tasks that they had to do were actually really interesting. Some participants were bribed $1 and some were bribed $20. After this, they were asked to rate how enjoyable the experiment was as a whole, and they found that the participants that were bribed with $1 rated the mega lame tasks as more enjoyable and fun compared to the participants that were bribed with $20 who rated them, well, super lame. How did the cognitive dissonance work here? Well, it was hypothesized that being paid only $1 was not a big enough incentive for lying. So those who were paid $1 experienced dissonance between their beliefs, the task was very boring, and their actions, I just said the tasks were fun. They could only overcome that dissonance by coming to believe that the tasks were really fun and enjoyable, therefore rating the experiment as more fun overall. But for the guys who were paid $20 to lie, they didn't experience this dissonance because $20 was a good enough reason to lie. As a result, they didn't have to change their beliefs to match their behaviors, therefore still believing that the tasks were about as fun as watching paint dry. Well, that's all for this episode. Hope I gave you all something to think about as usual. Now, here's a question for you. What do you think would happen if you got paid to do something you love? Perhaps a hobby of yours? Would you be happy? Or would you slowly grow to dislike doing what you once loved because of cognitive dissonance? Let me know in the comments and be sure to hit that like button if you liked the video and subscribe for more content just like this. As always, this has been Psych Up.